Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from my favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back, everyone, to the YouTube channel. My name is KJ, and I am the host of Great Talking Entertainment official channel. And today's spoiler review is the new movie by 20th First Century's Predators, Killers of Killers spoiler review. If you have not seen this amazing film, animation film, I should say, pause this. But before you go, could you hit the thumbs up button? Because that would help my YouTube channel out in so many ways. And I would just truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about Predators, Killers of Killers in the comments below. And what do you think about this new big universe of the Predator / the Alien universe that they're sharing with? So I want to know in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned? Now, let's get into it. This film starts off with a quote saying, "Go forth among the stars and seek only in the strongest prey. They shall be your trophies. Become the killer of killers." This quote was by Yosho Cody, and the date is May 20/05 2020/70, the year 74. So this is like it seems like a futuristic or maybe a BC or 80 type thing. Not really sure. It wasn't very clear, but that's how this film kind of started off. And I believe that at the end of this film, this was a quote maybe from a previous historic and person from a different time era that is captured within these films, which we'll get into later. That's what I think is why they did it like that. We see a spaceship fly into Earth, and this one dates to 841 AD. We see a ship full of Vikings as a young boy goes to war for the first time, as we see arrows with flames flying down as the screen goes black with the graphics of the word "the shield" and the Vikings symboling that the blood red, that has blood red, like it started bleeding red. And we know that in this part is Ursa. She's the mother / the leader of this Viking clan, and Andreas is the son of this clan as well, but he's like next in line because it's his blood right. And Ursa is looking for a leader named Zordon. Andreas, he hesitates. We see in this film that he kind of hesitates with this guy that may know this information with Zordon. And this is one of those scenes where the boy becomes a man, but this one, he doesn't have a father. And so it's up to his mother. And when he doesn't do it, she slices him, cuts him half into pieces. And of course, he's just shocked, but she's doing the best she can in this scenario, but it's like this kid's traumatized as we speak. And I just was like, okay, so this story is not really about it kind of is about the Viking War, or a war during the Viking era. But the person she's looking for, she obviously finds. And this is the person that killed Andreas' grandfather. But he didn't do it. He made the daughter, Ursa, do it and stuff. Because if it wasn't going to be her, it was going to be him. And so this whole story for this Viking is that she's trying to get revenge on her father, and she's trying to raise her son to be a man type scenario. But all that's going on, and the predator has these Vikings on sight. Like, this predator is ready to go. Like, this predator's found its target. This alien creature is ready to go. And as to them, this creature don't care about no type of war between Vikings and Vikings. This alien creature, the predator, is just more about collecting and proving to his tribe back in outer space on the planet that these alien species come from, is to prove them. And so they're just going down there, and they're just watching, and during these battles from the Vikings to the predator himself in this scene, there's a lot of battling, there's a lot of blood and glory. And I tell you what, like, the one thing I would say about this episode was really good is this predator was such a beast, like literally a beast, but he was bulky and strong like the Hulk. And everything they brought at him, this particular predator just wiped them out, and the son didn't make it. And so Ursula is trying to get back, like get revenge. Like, Ursula got punched by this like weapon that this predator uses, where it just like, I don't know, sends some type of sound wave or shock wave and just knocked her out and threw the building into some ice cold water. And now, so I'm assuming this is kind of like Alaska, the North Pole, the South Pole in the Viking area, or whatever area that can be that extremely cold. Ursula wakes up and gets out of it. She finds like that air pocket and gets out. And the way she defeats this predator is she wraps like this like an anchor around it and lets it drown and defeats it. But unfortunately, she gets captured by, I want to say it was a different predator species that was probably on the same ship, because the big giant one, it got stabbed. Like, she stabbed it with that anchor right underwater. And when it first told me, I knew that, okay, so the humans in this universe, whether it's the animation version or the live action version of this, which we'll talk about, is that these can be defeated, but it's going to take everything you got, right? And the more smarter, the more advanced they are, the much difficult it is, because, okay, yeah, to be fair, it was a different timeline era. Yeah, Vikings are badasses and they're tough. Yes, like, they knew how to survive in the dangerous weather you can imagine. They have been going to war, been stabbed, maybe been, I don't think they had firearms at the time. I could be wrong. I'm not very historically correct, but I get it. The weapons we have now versus then looks somewhat weak. But to be fair, these Vikings are badasses again. But I thought, okay, these humans had to look weak to these alien species called the predators. And yes, they do have a weak spot. Yes, they can be defeated. And yes, it's going to take a lot out of them, of course, like I said earlier. But the reason why I believe they did that is because I think what they're going to do is, I think they're going to try to do some Marvel Cinematic Universe Avengers type team up, which I can completely be wrong just based off this first scene of story that they have many told within this whole film. But that's what it just looks like, that. And, it goes in different timelines, like, because when we get to the next scene, after we realize that Ursa got captured, she's on the ship, and then we see like other people on this ship that are humans, and then they takes us to the year in Japan in the year 1609, as this is the next target that this particular predator is. Now, throughout this film, there's different types. So we saw the big bulky one in the first part, and now in this scene is a different one. This one wears a full mask and a lot of more body armor. The big one is just brute strength. Like, this thing could anger and rage and it'll knock you down, right? But it makes sense because it's fighting a Viking. They're angry and a lot of rage, adrenaline. So I kind of get the connection with it. But with this one, this particular predator is really good with the blades, the swords, the sneaking around, and obviously it fucked up some people in this era too. So we see two brothers, which is Kenji and Kaio, who we learn who becomes the new samurai warrior after the warlord, their father, puts these two young boys to have a duel with samurai swords. And obviously, for some reason, and what's really cool, nobody spoke the word, a little bit of English, a little bit of Japanese when it was needed. But in this particular scene, there's just a few Japanese subtitles because they may have said something in the intro. But other than that, there was like no talking, no voice acting at all. Like, it was just, you're just watching this and watching them use their facial expression, the emotion, the way the animation is background with the dark night. It was dark at night, and you couldn't tell. And it was very sneaky, right? So that's how this whole scene was of this story. We get a 20-year later gap between the incident when the two brothers duel, and obviously Kaio, he's the one that took down his brother and made him yield in a way, and he was ready to go. But I think they had to, because their father would have just, back in that time, the father would have just eliminated them both and then found another woman and rebirth until he got two new boys to take the throne, whatever. Like, that was that type of timeline. And and so again, we get that 20-year later time gap, and now they went from boys to men, and they're both are well skilled with the swords, but the predator, had them on sight, this one. And just to speed it up, like, the main story of this is the Kenji, who's now a ninja. He was obviously getting revenge, and I think he either was going to take on his brother, because maybe he was going to take down, like, how he wanted to rule the land. It seemed like he was going to assassinate his other brother, who's the samurai warrior / the warlord. I would assume that that's what it was going to be about. But again, this is not really about the story about the two brothers at this moment. This is more about when the predator shows up and he decides to slice and dice everybody. And we see Kenji just battling the predator, but this predator is so good, Kenji barely makes it. And then we see Kenji and his brothers get jumped by this predator, and the two brothers try to defeat the predator, but it was tough because, boy, they were going at it. Like, this predator, you couldn't, like, Kenji did, like, the smoke bombs that a ninja would do, and that predator still caught them, or the brother who's the samurai warrior, he he did his best, and he still got knocked down. He got stabbed. He got stabbed right in the side of the shoulder. But they both teamed up, and they got him. They sliced the dude up. Not a dude, but this alien species up, and won. But the samurai warrior, who is Kyoshi or Kyoshi, I hope I pronounced their name correctly, that he didn't make it, and he looked like he died from a battle wound. And Kenji got captured by one of the predators. So it seems like even when the predators get defeated, there's another one coming to take over to finish the job. And we know that this leads up to a big battle between two different eras. Well, not two, but three eras: Viking era, the samurai era, and then when we get to the next one, it's 1941. So, this is our war, and of that time. So we know that's the idea of this, but I found, just based on the Viking story and the samurai story, it seems like there's a data, maybe these alien species are collecting data. Now, I haven't gone back and watched all the Predator movies or alien films while watching this, but what I do think is that it just seems like this species is trying to learn different fighting battles techniques, it seems like. If this is, because this is like a prequel to a lot of Predator movies and the Aliens ones, of course. So I think the idea of this is they're trying to say that they've been around a lot longer than humans, or maybe at the same time, right? And again, I haven't watched all the movies. It's been years, but I think what it is, in my opinion, is that this alien species is trying to battle the best of the best, and I think this is how they would take over planet Earth. Like, if they decided to take over planet Earth and make it their new home, in their mind, they think that they got a battle, right? And so I would assume, and me just not really know comic books of this either, that maybe these alien species of predators are like planet Earth. There's just a parallel. There's a lot of similarities. They go to war, they become civil, they live regular lives, maybe have a job. Who knows, right? I could be wrong. I haven't read any comic books, and again, I haven't rewatched the movies of these films. But based off of these two scenes, before we get to the next scene, I feel like that they literally have been just studying the human race for a long time. And why, I don't know. But I would assume that it's to take over planet Earth. The reason why I believe that, because when we get to this next story, or next scene, it's in Florida in 1941. We meet this character named John J. Torres. And we see he's on a vehicle, and he's driving really fast. He's acting like any other young man. And then he gets drafted. And we see that he's not very good as a mechanic. And in that time, or even in this day, you learn how to use mechanical tools. Especially if you're going to operate machines that you would use in wars, right? And that's kind of one of the things, but he's young and naive, and he has a lot to learn. So, and the title of this is called The Bullet. And this is we go to the next scene after the title The Bullet shows up. We go to it's called North Atlantic, in 1942. So this is a year later after he's been drafted. So that means he's already done his training. He's already in the position that he's already ranked where he's currently ranked at. And we see that, he hasn't flown a plane yet because he's still struggling with being a mechanic. But it's important to know how to do that, to take care of your plane. And in this story, it's planes versus spaceships in the sky. Now, again, not fair, disadvantage for us in 1941 because our airplanes or jet planes, they weren't what they are right now. The next scene is we know that the Predator is in the spaceship and this alien's already starting attacking because in this scene that, and obviously in 1942, they just realize what this technology is. They don't know what it is, but John is investigating this weapon that was shot at one of the pilots. And again, they didn't know it, but it does tell me that maybe in this universe that all the technology that in the future, if they do a futuristic one, which they probably will, come on now, that they learn all their technology from this alien species. That's what I think too. I could be wrong. Haven't watched the movies. Haven't read the comic. Because he sees this weapon that he accidentally activate just get bigger and shoots off, and it flies away. Now, the spaceship that this Predator is driving is much bigger, and now things are getting serious. This is where John has to get on that airplane for the first time, and he's using his dad. His dad must have passed away because he has a photo of him, and he's using his father as an inspiration to be calm, be cool. And he's very heroic, very heroic. He's a nice guy. He's an honest dude. And he gets that airplane and it gets gnarly. It's not good. It's bad. Like this alien Predator is shooting, destroying all his comrades are going down. But John does figure out that they're seeing them through like a heat vision, like a heat sinking missile. And he says John figures out we got to cool down the engine so they can't do that. But unfortunately, John's sergeant realized the only way that's going to work is the sergeant has to sacrifice himself, which he does, so John can live. And even that, it works. He found a clever way to take down the spaceship to shoot the one of the engines and stuff, but it still wasn't good enough. So John had to do one more thing, and he's very clever. He's really good at thinking on his feet because even he got out of his airplane and repaired the broken engine gear, and I think he just tossed it out, right? But he had to do that. So he's very quick. But in this scene, he leads this Predator through the enemy line, and they're just blasting at him and the alien. And finally, the last strategy that he did, he flooded the engine and pretty much just sacrificed his whole plane just to defeat it. But unfortunately, John gets captured as well. So, again, there is a way to defeat these things, but you're going to be very lucky, very lucky. And some people, to me, told me they felt like they downplayed the species, but we'll talk about that later because here's why I disagree in that. Because we go to the next scene as we see all these characters kind of meet each other for the first time. Or maybe not the first time, but they've been locked up for a while. And now they're trying to understand each other because they all speak different language. John tries to understand both of them, but it doesn't really work at the moment. And we see throughout this scene that, they try to team up, and it was kind of rough, but they got to it. But John, Kenji, and Eurus are now battling in an arena like a gladiator style. So again, this tells me boy, they've been really spying on us for a long time. or this universe of Earth. And the leader slash ruler of this predator species is speaking, and we notice on their collar around the three's necks, it translates to what he's saying. Now that's very interesting because in 1941, you couldn't translate that like the way you can do it now if you use your Google or your AI voice in your program on your phone or tablet or whatever you use, right? So it was very interesting to see that they had that technology. So again, this proves that this alien species has been around a lot longer. And I said like why I disagree that they've been beaten so easily. I disagree. I think the idea is that they may have sent some predators down there to Earth who were on a lower level of strength or weakness, whatever it is. Like they're not better. They got better, loyal soldiers within the predator species. Like, yeah, the guy that was big and bulky, he was big, but look at the leader. He's much huger, right? But then we see like in the battlefield, there's predators who lost, and then they were weak, they were chained up, and they cut their head off, and then they had giant walking, monster creatures on four legs, like just ready to eat you alive, right? And so it's very interesting. So they're not weak, they just send ones they felt like were weak and need to be proved that they're real warriors and that can fight. Maybe some of these predators that you saw in this film so far, they were weak in the beginning because they had to prove themselves, and they both failed. So I think this species just, they got top ranks, lower ranks, all type of ranks. So that's what I think. That's why I disagree with the idea of like this movie really downplayed that the predator. Like, no, I think there's just different, stronger, badder ones in higher rank. That's what I just think that they're going to do with. Because even like they get their own weapons, and they weren't smart. Like John's gun was an older gun. He even made a thing, but so they don't know like what we do and like how advanced that type of firearm was versus the one that John was given. It was the type of firearm where you had to put the gunpowder in and patch it down. In 1941, that version was no longer used. They came up with a better way to use bullets. So I guess this alien species didn't get the memo of that, so I don't know why. But I thought that was pretty funny. And again, it was really challenging to speak different language from each one. But they finally got it, and they didn't beat the final boss, but they did their best. And John got eaten up by a creature, but he found a device that could take the collars off. And that's pure luck, too. And then they try to fight the final boss again, which is the leader of this, and it didn't really work out. But they did give John enough time to get the spaceship and escape. But Ursa sacrificed herself so John and Kenji can escape. But what's really interesting? They didn't kill her off. They just put her back in the pod. And so I think, again, this is why I disagree, where I felt like a lot of people are like, well, they made these alien predators weak. Well, here's another good reason. I think they just did this and strategized. They're confident in that they can defeat any type of living race or species all over the galaxy, including humans. That's what I think in their mindset, because they're that good. So it tells me that they destroyed some other alien planet species right? But we don't know how far where the movie Aliens, those aliens where, they get in your body and then you give birth to an alien type thing. I don't know where they're at in that timeline, but I'm sure they have countered them before. And so again, I think that this species is very smart, and they're trying to say in this universe they're smarter than people on planet Earth. So that's the idea of why they did that. So I think I think they learned so many battle strategy tactics from us and other planets that are not humans, and they just use that to get better at it. I think they study, they practice it, and only the best and the best can achieve top rank. And that's where I get it from, because where they get the Gladiator idea arena theme from our Earth in that timeline. So it makes sense. And, at the end of the scene, or the end credits or whatever, we see a pod where it's the female from the movie Prey, and she's in it. So they captured her. Now, she defeated some of them too. It was tough. It was rough. But she got captured too. But again, I think they send weaker ones to planet Earth to prove that they're worthy enough. If they failed at something, they gotta prove their worthiness, their loyalness, and they always fail. But they got her, so it's gonna be very interesting how far John and Kenji are gonna make it, and do they go back to Earth? And how does Kenji feel about that? Because he's technically supposed to be, old and passed away. It's way past his era. So it's going to be very interesting. And I feel like there's going to be some time traveling too, as well. I think they're going to discover time traveling as well. That's what I get out of it at the end, especially at the end of that episode, where I'm like, okay, they got more people in these pods. So that they really been studying us. And again, I think this is all tactic for them, and they got a plan, and I think they want to take over planet Earth and make it their home. But again, I do believe that they're gonna do a time travel, and I believe that they'll probably have I honestly believe too, that they're gonna have Arnold Schwarzenegger reprise his role from the Predator movies, and I don't think it would be a bad idea. It would work. And I think that in the future that these creatures, the Predators, have dominated, and they got to go back in time to the beginning to stop it. That's what I think it's going to lead to, because that's a lot of characters and people from different timelines in the history of the world. So that's what I think is going to be, is a time travel, or even, I would dare say, a multiverse story. But other than that, I liked it. I like the idea of this story. And let me explain why. I always like these films, and I like now they're really trying to canonize some things. And I like that they're giving us a really good prequel of and there's probably more prequels to come. The way I'm guessing that you would place this in the timeline order of this would be since this would happen before the movie Prey, but then you would just watch the movie Prey, and then at the end would just be where, I guess that's where they left her off. So, but her timeline is far away. Year-wise, it's a big gap between hers and John's timeline, of course, obviously. But it's not far-fetched that these two would team up and be the heroes or the leader of this Avenger type group. And I like it. I see where it's going. I really do. Which this leads me to my next topic. Does this universe work well? Can they learn off the way Marvel Studios and DC Studios is doing their franchise? I think yes, and I think there's enough fan base to go with it to profit off of. And I also believe that I think it could work. I think that it's going to be confusing because I think they're going to try to canonize already made films, which is fine, why not? But I think that how much more stories could they tell? And the short answer is unlimited. Unlimited, because the three characters that we've seen were in three different years of eras of historical moments, right? Even the woman from the movie Prey, she's from a different era as well. So there's some that they kind of not shown yet. There's in between, and there's more like there's still historical moments that they haven't yet scratched the surface yet. So if they were focusing on starting in the prequel timeline to the more current timeline, they got plenty of stories. Like what about in the Rome? What about the Rome era? The gladiators. Basically, I'm trying to say that there's so many ones they haven't covered yet historically where you can put these quote unquote alien creatures to invade planet Earth in these different time eras, and there's so many more. Like, and even on the other side of the world, like they can do it even more. Like, there's so much they can do. So there's enough story, plenty of it, plenty of stories. But will they get to it all? I don't know. But it'd be interesting where they're going, but they're building this universe or cinematic universe where the predator alien species exists, and I'm going to have to assume that they're going to put the aliens, the aliens where they get in your body and then you give birth to them. Like I think they're going to exist too in this universe, and I think I think it's gonna work because I think again this is a sci-fi type film. I think there's a huge crowd for that, and the one thing I'm concerned though is not everybody's gonna want to keep up with it. How do they keep people to keep up with all that? What I would do if I was gonna help be a part of this, right? I would want to keep the more futuristic storytelling of this cinematic universe in the theaters. But if you're going to do like somewhere back in time in history where it's a different era, I would do the Disney Plus / Hulu series and put that in that category. Because unless it's not like important, I mean, it's all important, but if it doesn't continue on from the last big movie, then you should just add something else in between the timelines of this. That's what I would think. Like, if you're going to do something where there's knights and kings and queens, like, I would do that on the streaming, whether it's Disney Plus or Hulu. And if you're going to do something in the future, again, I would try to keep that in the theaters. But there's so many ways you can go with it. But do I think it can be successful as Marvel? I would say yes. There's always a possibility, yes. Like, there's always a chance because this movie was really good, and Prey was really good. It's well loved. And this movie, this film of an animation was really good, and the plot was good. It all makes sense. Like, I like that they focus on the idea. This is about the predators. It's not really about the historical moments and world history, because this is a universe where all the world history includes the alien species popping up and capturing somebody. and it's not in books. They're so sneaky about it and nobody writes them down. Or if they have, they don't know how to describe these predators of an alien species, especially in the timelines. They wouldn't know how to explain that. Like, I could explain it to you, but they wouldn't know how to explain it back then. So they got a really good idea how to keep questioning why this wasn't in the books, but it can be like a myth. They're like mythical creatures to them. They're not real in the year 2025. So there's that possibility of doing that story. And I said there's going to be probably time traveling. And so that means somebody in the future has to come back in time because the world has really lost to this animal or alien species. So that's where I'm getting at, right? And you probably want to save that with the movies in theaters. I think those are a story you put in the theaters because you want to get the right actors. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if like Arnold Schwarzenegger got put back in this franchise, and I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised he agreed to do these films because I think he likes this franchise and I think he probably likes the scripts and stuff. And with this film, again, like I said, I really like they focus on it. They set so much up. There's so much potential. And as far as this animation, I thought everything was well drawn together. I like the background. I like the animation, 3D, but kept it somewhat 2D style, or not 2D style, but something you would just read off the paper type graphics. And I liked it. It kind of reminds me of Netflix's Arcane. The style, animation style reminds me of that, and it really works out well. And the tone that was set in each one was really cool, and it really lived up to whatever year and date they put on the screen that to inform you this is the year and this would happen. I thought that was really cool. So it really each tone was set differently, but it all made sense and it lived up to like how not like historically accurate to it, but the idea of like this is how they would fight, this is how they would battle these alien species if they did come down for real, right? And they really demonstrated it, and I think they did a really good job with it. But it's still up there, like as far as like a cinematic universe, that's a different challenge. But as far as this is really well put together, and I think it's really fun to watch. It's something you can watch at least twice because it's just so good. And I think the diehard fans will appreciate this. And there's so many Easter eggs in this that people have found, and it's just really neat. Like here's an example that the gun that the John was given to in battle, that was the same one that the woman from the movie Prey saw, right? And it's connected to one of the older Predators movie, right? So it's there, like that's how they try to connect it. So again, as far as just this film standing alone, really put well together. I think if you like action and sci-fi, and it's really a simple story, it's really easy to follow. This is the type of film you can watch and just chill out. And it's plenty of action. So action to next action. Like it's got everything you can imagine. And the fight scenes in these were really cool. And because they didn't do that a lot in the older films, but to see them do like fighting styles or battling ways in an animation way that animation can provide and demonstrate is really unique. And I thought it was a banger of a movie. So 1 out of 10, if I had to give that a 1 out of 10, like I said, I'm gonna give it an 8 because it was just really good, put well. The only thing that I have to hate about it is that, teasing a time traveling story or multiverse story, sometimes those stories don't always work out well, but we'll see how they go with it. But if this is the start of birthing this cinematic universe, then here we go. I'm all for it, and I can't wait to see more. But again, I think it's for if you watched it, like, because this is the spoiler review. I think the story made sense. I think that what they're teasing will work. It's just the question of, should it be in theaters or should it be in streaming? But who knows? But that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.